and welcome to Study with Sudhir, your digital classroom. I am TS Sudhir. I hope your geography revision is going on pretty well. We did the first revision video which looked at the transport and the two waste management chapters. We spoke specifically about what kind of questions you can possibly expect in the geography paper, and I did point out about how there could be different kinds of definitions that could be asked, different kinds of characteristics that could be asked in either of the two chapters, the transport and the waste management chapters. In this video, we are going to be looking at two other important chapters which are standalone chapters: soils of India and natural vegetation. Okay, pretty much the same format. I will basically be telling you, because all the description, all the explanation has already been done in the two video lessons. So if you have any doubts, please go to the geography playlist, look at the three videos, two of soils, part 1 and part 2, and natural vegetation, which will give you a detailed explanation of what needs to be studied, what is in it exactly. So here, let's start with soils. What you need to know is detailed information of the different kinds of soils. That is absolutely essential. Okay, absolutely important, which means alluvial soil, black soil, red soil, laterite soil. You need to know all the different characteristics. You cannot get confused between laterite soil and alluvial soil. Okay, you need to work out some way in which to remember the different characteristics. Make tables, quick tables, short notes, and just keep looking at it. You'll remember it. It's not rocket science. It's not a nuclear code. Yaad ho jata hai. Okay, you need to know their characteristics. You need to know their chemical properties. They all of them come as a 1 mark or a 2 mark question. Now, what kind of questions can usually come? They can ask you the difference between alluvial soil and red soil, or between black soil and laterite soil. They can ask you to give reasons, because that will essentially test your understanding, that while you may have mugged up, but whether you understand it also and able to apply it, right? As much as possible, try to solve and look at as many give reasons kind of questions as possible. You would be having some kind of reference book. The reference book that I referred to was Evergreen. I think it's quite a good book, very comprehensive, very comprehensive. So please do have a look at it. I personally found it was really good for geography. That is something which you need to practice, give reasons, because that is something which always comes as far as the geography question paper is concerned. For instance, why is laterite soil red in color? You need to talk about the presence of iron oxide, which is found by leaching. So you need to, iron oxide, leaching, these will be your keywords. Or why does red soil need irrigation? Because it is coarse, it is porous, and has less water retaining capacity. These are your keywords. So your key points are essentially going to be a keyword. So you need to remember those in order to be able to score those marks, because coarse and porous you would not have corresponding and suitable synonyms. So you need to know the precise word itself, and that is something which is very specific to geography. You need to know how the crops that grow on different kinds of soils, very important, because these have come as questions in the past. For example, they may ask you two cash crops that grow on, say, alluvial soil. So you need to know that they are wheat and rice. You could be asked what grows in black soil. You need to say soil, cotton. I don't know whether you could be asked which states does it grow in. You need to then know, Maharashtra, Andhra Pradesh, in order to be able to give that information. I have explained all that in the video lessons. You could be asked to name the soil according to the properties also. For instance, which soil is acidic in nature? Laterite soil. Or is good for a certain crop, which, say, laterite soil, or say alluvial soil or black soil, which crop is it most suitable for? Then the second part, what is soil erosion? Always comes, or at least every second year it has always come. What is soil erosion? Its causes, what can be done to prevent deforestation, what is afforestation, what is soil conservation. So in different forms, something related to soil erosion has always come. So you cannot ignore this aspect of the soil chapter at all. You will need to study and remember about sheet erosion and gully erosion. That's another thing which also has come in the past. Know the areas where these kind of processes, natural processes, are taking place. You need to know about Khadar and Bhangar. about why Khadar is more fertile than than Bhangar. You need to know about pedogenesis. You need to know about terrace farming. Please make a note of all these things and just ensure that you remember all these kind of aspects, specifics that I am talking about. You could be asked a 1-mark question. You could be, you could be given a definition and asked to kind of identify the process also. That can also happen. So the reverse can also happen. They can give you an entire definition and say what is this process. So which is why the textbook language definition is so important to remember, because if you don't remember that, then it can make it difficult for you to identify which process exactly is being asked to you. For instance, a question like this actually came in the 2015 geography paper. The process by which soluble minerals dissolve in rainwater and percolate to the bottom, leaving topsoil infertile. So you need to know that this is leaching. So you need to know the exact definition. Okay, so this is as far as the soils chapter is concerned. I hope I am clear on what all aspects you need to focus on while you are revising this particular chapter. Let's now come to natural vegetation. Now here most important is to know the characteristics of different kinds of forests. Absolutely important. The different trees, they need a lot of memory power, I do agree. So work on it accordingly. You can work out different kind of codes in order to be able to remember. Okay. Or you could be asked for characteristics, or you could be given characteristics, just like in the soils chapter. You could be given the characteristics and asked to identify which tree it is and which forest does it belong to. Okay, like which kind of forest does Sundari belong to, or rosewood, or teak, or sal, or the chirpine, or name the tree whose wood is hard and is used for shipbuilding, or whose stilt roots are underwater during the high tide. So being very, very thorough with the textbook knowledge is so important as far as these chapters are concerned. You could be asked also state specific questions. For instance, how trees in a dry state like Rajasthan, which is basically a desert state, have adapted to the climate. So they will test your understanding. And as far as the natural vegetation soils, I have also found in some of the questions some kind of, at least a couple of questions always, which kind of test your understanding of 3 chapters in one go: soils, climate, and natural vegetation. They kind of test, and there are these very, very subtle linkages that are formed by the person who is setting the paper between these 3 chapters. Okay, which is why I always say that if you are doing soils, it's always better to do soils, natural vegetation, climate, water resources. These 4 chapters have some kind of a link between all 4 of them. It exists. So it's easy to, if you are able to read all the 4 chapters, it just makes it easier. Okay, so these are my 4 chapters: transport, waste management, 6. The 7th buffer I would always suggest is entirely up to you, which one you feel more comfortable with. Last year for my daughter, we did agro-based and mineral-based industries. Okay, that was the 7th chapter. Actually, she did attempt a question from there. Now, you need to know why tropical evergreen forests are difficult to exploit, those kind of questions. You could be asked questions relating to deforestation and afforestation. And here I want to point out that you cannot get away by writing generic answers. It won't help. Your answers have to be very sharp, very focused, very pointed. For example, if the question is about why are forest resources depleting? Why are forest resources depleting? Your keywords will be industrialization, mining, urbanization, quarrying. Okay, you cannot just write that, oh, man has become very greedy, he's cutting trees to make furniture, etc. You won't get marks. Your keywords have to be the 4 I just mentioned. Only then you will get the 1 mark or 2 mark question that it may come for, most likely a 2 mark question. So you need to be very clear about the information that you are providing. Geography seeks precise information. It is not expecting you to write long winded answers. It is expecting you to write precise answers. It will also most likely, a few questions will test you the linkages between different chapters. So students who kind of pick and choose, which is all very fine, but while you are picking and choosing, if you don't pick and choose the right kind of chapters, you could be in for a rude shock. So be very careful about the kind of chapters that you are studying. 5, as I have said in previous videos also, may be just a little risky. So please keep 1 or even better 2 chapters as buffer which you could even attempt as extras if you have the time, in order to kind of maximize your chances of actually scoring 100, which is very possible in geography. So do that. So these are the kind of questions that would come from the soils and the natural vegetation chapters. Any doubts? Refer to the video lessons where we have explained all these processes in great detail. Okay, thank you very much for watching. Happy studying and enjoy geography.